much longer can we go on, Patrick, with this? It just seems to me in 2022 an increasingly absurd situation. And again, focusing on the Northern Ireland Protocol bill here, where there's talk, after being passed by a massive majority of MPs elected by the people, talk of what the Remain-dominated Lords might or, could do in terms of holding up, in terms of delaying this legislation. This seems to me, Patrick, just to be a totally ridiculous situation now where, as I said, a pro-Brexit majority government, big majority given to Boris Johnson by the British public, and you just get these briefings and reports, as I said, of what sort of scheming, Remain-dominated Lords intend to do to try and hold this up as best they can. I mean, this is surely, the Lords just needs to be swept away now.
Well, I would personally favour that, absolutely. You would think logic would say that after they got a bloody nose in 2019, the kind of unelected bits of the British establishment would show some humility and sort of go with the programme, as it were. They're clearly not intending to do that. And so if there's any justice in the world, they will lose even more support and, Boris Johnson will stand up and do something about them. But on the other hand, the danger for a prime minister with this big majority is that he keeps saying stuff and nothing happens. And, he can point to like the House of Lords or European Court of Human Rights and all these people blocking him and expect us all to get behind him again. But there comes a point where voters will think, well, if you're not actually in charge and you don't seem to have an effective urgent plan to make sure you're in charge and sweep these blockages away, are you really worth supporting? And you imagine, for instance, people of my age think back, what would Margaret Thatcher have done in these circumstances? She would have had probably a more detailed plan to actually win these disputes. She would probably have had a detailed plan to break the rail strike, for instance. She would have had a detailed plan and legislation already passed in order to pull out of the European Court of Human Rights. And, Boris can say the right things against the people that a lot of us despise. But if he hasn't actually got a plan to win, he's not guaranteed that everyone comes rallying back to his banner every time.
Yeah, and I just think, as well as I do, Patrick, a lot of the people that went and voted Conservative, many of them for the first time in 2019, the sort of pro-Brexit majority, they want radical political change. They want the establishment challenge. They want things shaken up. And, whether it's the voting system, it's an unelected Lords, it's the ECHR, I just think Boris Johnson's government need to be looking at these issues and actually getting ahead of it. And rather than, blaming the unelected Lords or blaming the European courts, we can't do this. They need to get on and damn well use this majority to bring about major political change.
Yeah, and with the Rwanda situation, if a British Bill of Rights was needed in order to keep the European Court of Human Rights in its box, why wasn't that passed in the last 2 years on the rail strike? If employers were supposed to be liberated a bit more to be able to hire agency workers to keep a core service going, that legislation has been gathering dust for a couple of years. Why wasn't that accelerated through too? There's too many issues where Boris Johnson doesn't really seem to be able to make up his mind and actually fully commit himself to, and I think the number one above all of anything else is the Rwanda removals program. It's all gone quiet. When's the next plane load due then? When's it actually going to happen? I hear too many people who want to be sympathetic to this government and support this prime minister just sinking deeper into disillusion, really. And that is the number one gift to Labour and the Liberal Democrats that's out there, not stuff about parties and cake and whatever else the trendy media wants to talk about. It's lack of delivery for conservatively inclined voters.